Hello everyone, peace of Christ all, and no peace to those wicked, saith the Lord. Ito ay bad news para sa Amerika kasi sila ay bumoto na isang Muslim na mayor sa New York. Ang pangalan ay si Zohran Mamdani. Itong taong ito ay talagang loyal ito hindi sa konstitusyon ng Amerika, kundi loyal to sa kanyang kulto Kasi nagpa-practice ng takiya, pagsisinungaling, ginugoyo yung mga tao at ang mga Amerikano na hindi nag-iisip sa kanyang pangiti-ngiti para lang manalo. Pero ang pinakaloob-loob niya, wala talagang galang to sa gobyerno. Kasi turo ng kailang reliyon to Pakinggan natin kung paano kakapal ang mukha nitong tao na to. Kung nanalo lang na mayor piling niya parang hari na siya. Hinahamon pa naman si Trump. Walang respeto talaga itong mga to
We can respond to oligarchy and authoritarianism with the strength it fears, not the appeasement it craves. After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
So kita niyo kung gaano kag-terorista at marahas magsalita ito. Muhammadan kasi. Kung matino lang reliyon itong mga to, hindi ganito magsalita itong mga to Kasi ang dami namang naging official sa Amerika Hindi naman ganyan magsalita. Ito lang yung natatangi sapagkat merong reliyon kasi na marahas. Piling niya hari na sila. Ito pa sinabi niya na ang Amerika daw, ang New York daw, ay tinatag daw ng mga immigrants at dapat pagharian at dapat daw pangunahan ng mga immigrants. Kundi ba naman luko-luko ito? Ang New York hindi yan binild ng mga immigrants. Mga Amerikano yan. Hindi yan kagaya ninyo. Tapos sinamon pa si Trump, sabi niya, bumanggit pa siya ng salitang terrify at alisan daw ng power daw. Paano mo alisan ng power? Presidente hinaamon mo. Abnormal talaga magsalita ito mga to no? Terroristic talaga no? Kasi nakalagay yan sa kanilang kulto Mababasa natin yan sa Surah chapter 5 verse 51 na huwag daw nila irespeto at huwag daw kaibiganin ang mga Kristiyano at Hudyo. Huwag gawing patrons or governors. Turo kasi ng kanilang kulto yan Kaya ganyan magsalita yung mga yan Nakatungtong lang sa isang posisyon, nakala nila hari na sila. So dahil sa sinabi niyang yon, ibabantayan siya ngayon ni Trump. Handa siyang aarestuhin. Pagmamatyagan siya ngayon ni Trump.
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zohran Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani?
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they move to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. We're going to look at everything, and ideally. He's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said, we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism. And you get a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and raving about how wonderful he is. And Look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city. Yeah, but you would think that a Republican would be able to win. Or you have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in. And like he was indicted the following day. And I said, that was a phony indictment. And it was a phony indictment. That was a Biden indictment. I said, don't feel bad. I got indicted 5 times every time you opened your mouth. That was a bad group. That was a very dangerous group, I will tell you. These were not nice people. That was the only thing they could do. They had no policy. They had no skill. They had no anything. But they were very good at that. They were vicious, horrible people.
So, tinawag ito ni Trump na imigrante lang ito. Hindi naman to American eh. Tsaka napaka-horrible na to na tao. Kaya tama lang ginawa ng Amerika na mabantayan nila to. At saka si Trump, may alam naman yan sa Islam si Trump. Kaya hindi tatanga-tanga si Trump. Hindi siya katulad ng mga politiko dito sa Pilipinas na walang alam. Puro politically correct. Hindi alam ang reality. Kaya tama lang nabantayan to ng Amerika. Kapag ito nagkamali ng galaw at paiiralin yung kanyang kulto, abay aarestuhin talaga to ni Trump. At dahil dito, ang mga American activists na mga ilan kagaya nila Bridget Gabriel, hinayag ang baho nitong tao na to na ito daw ay isang terorista, supporter ng terorismo. At mga terorista, mga Hamas. Pakinggan natin mga aktivista sa Amerika na may alam ha.
Hello, this is Brigitte Gabriel. Zohran Mamdani, an Islamic terrorist sympathizer and democratic socialist, wants to be the mayor of New York City. A man so cozy with people that echo the ideologies behind the horror of 9/11. A vote for him is a spit in the face of every firefighter, every family who mourned, and every patriot who vowed never again. Mamdani's worldview was shaped by his father, a Columbia professor who called suicide bombers soldiers worthy of sympathy, not scorn. He said suicide bombing needs to be understood as a feature of modern political violence rather than stigmatized as a mark of barbarism. He framed jihadists not as depraved killers driven by Islamic jihadist ideology, but as a product of youth revolt against occupation born from the Intifada's ashes. And you wonder why Zohran Mamdani wants to globalize the Intifada? This wasn't abstract theory. It was Mahmoud Mamdani's lens on the world, blending anti-colonial rhetoric with relativism that excuses mass murder if it's cloaked in politics. He ties terrorism's roots to Western imperialism, downplaying the fanaticism fueling groups like Al-Qaeda or Hamas. Zohran, the son, raised in this hothouse of radical academia, internalized these distortions like gospel. Zohran Mamdani's life was steeped in narratives that equate Western strength with villainy and Palestinian resistance with heroism, blurring lines between freedom fighters and fanatics. This paternal poison warps Zohran Mamdani's soul, a worldview where 9/11's architects aren't monsters, but symptoms of our sins demanding atonement through weakness and redistribution. It betrays New Yorkers daily, pushing policies that hobble police, flood streets with unchecked migration, and prioritize grievance over grit. Mamdani ties runs deep with radical Islamists like Linda Sarsour, the anti-Semitic activist who's mentored him, endorsed him, and maxed out donations to his campaign. Linda Sarsour shaped Mamdani's rise, pulling strings on a network of 108 organizations fueling his machine. She defends Sharia law, praises jihadists, and marches with those chanting globalize the Intifada. Members of her family are convicted terrorists rotting in Israeli jails. The same Linda Sarsour, who shares the same close circle of friends like radical Imam Siraj Wahhaj, an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, who once urged jihad on New York City. Mamdani and Sarsour were close with people who call on the destruction of the United States and advocate replacing our system with socialism, Islamism, and Marxism. And how about CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, the unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terrorism financing trial in America's history, shares the same orbit. CARE, who supported and helped elect Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib to Congress, and is working to have thousands of elected Muslims into all levels of government on the federal and state level, including Mamdani. Birds of a feather flock together. New York, you witnessed the greatest tragedy on American soil on 9/11. Electing Mamdani is handing the keys to those who sympathize with the perpetrators. He will prioritize radical alliances over safety, turning Ground Zero into a symbol of surrender. What message does that send to the ghosts of 9/11, to the heroes buried at fire departments at New York stations? It's a dagger to the heart of the city that rebuilt stronger, fiercer, unbowed. Mamdani is also a full-throated Marxist socialist, the poster boy for democratic socialists of America, dreaming of seizing wealth, crushing businesses, and remaking New York City in the image of failed regimes. His vision means breadlines and government overlords. Socialism and Marxism breeds dependency, kills innovation. Look at Cuba. Look at the Soviet collapse. New York thrives on capitalism's fire. Wall Street's pulse, Broadway's sparkle, immigrants chasing the dream. Mamdani's poison would extinguish that flame, leaving us in darkness, divided and destitute. New York, you deserve better than lies. Mamdani must be stopped at all cost, or New York, as we know it, will never be the same.
I've called for Zohran Mamdani to be deported. The only thing I want to see him running for is his gate at JFK on the deportation flight to Uganda.
Do you think that Mamdani is an anti-Semite?
Yes, I do. I think that when you, as a young rapper, sponsored groups who were known for embracing Hamas.
In 2017, Zohran Mamdani released a rap track that praised 5 convicted Hamas funders known as the Holy Land Five. These 5 men were convicted of funneling over $12 million to Hamas.
Hamas is a terrorist, dangerous organization that should be destroyed and dismantled, and no one should be embracing the philosophies of that. I think that when you mimic and do caricatures of Hanukkah, when you know what Hanukkah represents and stands for. I think that when you're in the streets, after what we saw took place on October 7th, when you're in the street either the next day or days later, and so some people can sugarcoat it and say, no, I'm anti-Israel. I don't know if you realize who lives in Israel. Jewish people lives in Israel. And so if you're saying, no, I'm anti-Israel, let's be honest with the conversation and we should not sugarcoat it.
So nakita natin kung paano in-expose itong taong ito na mga aktivista sa Amerika na talagang may connection ito sa terorismo, sa mga jihadista, tulad ng mga Hamas at sa mga unchecked na mga immigrations. Kaya wala tong tao na to sisirain lang nito ang Amerika no? At bakit allowed yan sa kanila? Sapagkat tinuturo sa kanilang Quran na pwede silang mag-practice ng dissimulation or taktika ng pagsisinungaling, na tawag na takiya, na kung saan nagsasalita sila na parang friendly sa harap ng marami pero sa kanilang kaibuturan, sa loob ng kanilang puso, baliktad at taliwas pala yung feelings nila. At itong mga ganitong tao ang hindi natin iaalaw na maghari-harian o maging leader ng ating bansa.